Welcome to SNNLive. We're broadcasting from our studios in Los Angeles, California. I'm Shelley Kraft, and today we have with us Jim Nelson of Solar3D Incorporated. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is SLTD. Jim, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks, Shelley. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. So I want to start out with an overview of the company, if you would.
Sure. Solar3D is an operator and consolidator of solar integrators in California and Nevada. We are located in offices in Santa Barbara, Roseville, California, Reno, and Rancho Cucamonga. We install, design, source, monitor solar systems for residential and commercial organizations throughout California and also in Nevada. And we're looking to buy additional companies in those two states as well.
And give me a product overview of the type of equipment.
Sure. We're really selling electricity, if you will. The whole idea behind solar systems is that solar systems will continue to be widely accepted and installed as the economics approach grid parity. And of course, through the last couple of years, the economics have dropped substantially, so that it makes a lot more sense to buy solar now than it did in the past. So we're selling electricity, even though the hardware we put on are solar systems, and we do it on rooftops for residential organizations, and then of course ground mounts and rooftops for commercial organizations, and also we have a large agricultural practice as well.
What is the ratio between commercial and residential currently in the company?
It's about 50-50 at this time.
So I've read in some of your previous press releases that you're obviously expanding the business through acquisition. Right. You did an acquisition of MD Solar a while ago. Explain.
It's MD Energy, and we bought them in Rancho Cucamonga. It's a great company run by Danny Mitchell, who is the CEO of that company. And they're strictly commercial, industrial, and ag, so they don't do residential yet. But it's a booming business and doing really well, exceeding our expectations.
And then there was a second acquisition. I think it was called Elite Solar, correct?
Elite Solar in Chico, California. We just announced that acquisition. It will close on the 1st of November, led by Kirk Short, who is a great colleague of ours. And in fact, being in the business, one of the great advantages we have is that we know a lot of other people in the business. So we identify our best competitors, and we hope to be able to buy them. And Kirk Short was definitely at the top of the list with Elite Solar. We think they're terrific, and they're hard to beat. They were hard for us to beat, and so now they're part of us.
Well, that's a good acquisition then for the company. Question, future acquisitions, because obviously that's your growth path.
Yes. Actually, we have two growth paths, if I may. We are growing rapidly. We're doubling year over year on an organic basis as well. So we think that our organic growth is going to be dramatically higher next year. In addition to that, we're looking to acquire a number of other companies over the next several months. And those companies, we're looking at both residential and commercial businesses that have great management teams. We're looking for companies between 20 and 50 million in sales that are profitable, which is not always the case with solar businesses. But most importantly, that they have strong management teams who will join our management team and help make us better, as well as make them better when they join us.
Jim, why are they wanting to be acquired? Why don't they just go at it alone?
Well, there are a couple of good reasons for that. A lot of the people that we're talking to come from the electrical contractor business, and so they're really smart managers. They're good leaders. They know the business, and they've grown the business effectively, but they lack the background and capital to be able to scale their business really large. When they join us, the idea is that we'll give them some cash, and then we'll give them stock in Solar3D. It gives them access to the upside. It also gives them capital to continue their career and to build their business as they have been wanting to. So there are a lot of good reasons. It's not for everybody, but we find that there are a lot of people that are interested, a lot of people we're interested in.
You generated about $20 million in revenue previously. You gave guidance of between 40 and 45 million. Obviously, the acquisitions will help you get to that number. In your opinion, is your guidance that you're going to hit the high side of your projections or the low side?
That's a tricky question. The fact is, we think we're going to blow through guidance, we hope, and that's independent of any acquisitions. Of course, the guidance was separate from the acquisitions that we're doing, separate from the large contracts that we've talked about in the past. It's just with our basic business, and we think we're going to do really well relative to our guidance.
Gee, I have to say, I feel like the sun is shining on you.
Well, I hope so.
So let's talk about target markets. Where does your growth come from?
Well, California and Nevada are our markets. Commercial, industrial, agricultural, and residential are the vertical targets that we look at. We don't do utility scale. If you look at the forecast for the future, the DOE, Goldman Sachs, and the SEIA, which is the Solar Energy Industry Association, did a forecast where they believe that there will be a pullback of the solar business in 2017, but that's only in utility scale. Commercial and industrial and residential, they believe, will continue to grow through that period of time. They get back on a fast growth period of time after that. So we're really focused on those growing markets.
You know, I happen to have some familiarity with the solar market, and they deal a lot in credits. Can you speak to that?
Yes, there are a lot of companies. In fact, some of our major competitors offer credit or some kind of financing for the customers that are buying systems from them. We don't believe that that's in the best interest of the customer. We think the best interest of the customer is to own the system themselves as opposed to leasing a system or doing a power purchase agreement, which a lot of these other companies advocate. There are lots of premiums built into both the financing and the pricing when people use the financing that's provided by some of the larger companies in the business. We are able to go out and source a lot of different financing from a lot of different organizations, and we are always able to find the best that we can apply to the systems that our customers want to use. And it is invariably superior to the financing they can get elsewhere. We don't finance ourselves, but we can facilitate it for our customers, and it ends up being a real good deal for them.
So a financial interesting question to me is, based on the cost of goods, what is the return on investment in comparison to buying power from the grid?
Well, when you compare it to the grid, you think in terms of grid parity. And of course, that's what really drives, in the long run, what drives the demand for solar. There's going to be widespread adoption of solar as the economics are favorable. The fact is, as I mentioned, over the last couple of years, the costs of solar have declined. They will continue to decline, and that will make the economics more and more favorable relative to the grid. And frankly, there's something that drives people to want to have control of their power. It's just like when they got personal computers. When personal computers came out, it displaced centrally located time-shared computers because people wanted to have control of this, and people are going to want to have control of their power just like that. They ultimately going to want to get off the grid when storage technology develops. But in terms of what the payback can be, it can be anywhere from 2 years to 7 years. It just depends on the situation.
What is the new technology, if there is, that's driving the price of solar lower, the price of solar equipment lower? What's going on?
Well, it's interesting. I thought one of the most bright guys in the current administration is a guy who's no longer there, a fellow named Stephen Chu, who is the Secretary of Energy. And he challenged the solar industry a few years ago to get the cost of installed solar down to $1 per watt by the end of 2020, by the end of this decade. And the solar industry really embraced that. And so every component of solar has been working on getting the cost down, getting the power generated up. And as a result, each of the components is dropping in cost, reducing the cost to the consumer and to the industrial and commercial businesses. And that's really what's driving it. We're developing some new technology, and there are others who are developing new technology, and that's what's driving the costs.
Is the new technology also including new storage technology?
Yeah, storage is a really interesting thing because right now, of course, you have a number of storage technologies out there that are very interesting, but they're still big, bulky, and they aren't the answer. But there are a half dozen technologies in storage that are being worked on that could be the answer. The day is coming where storage is going to be very effective. It's going to store a lot of energy, and it's going to be compact and so forth. It isn't here yet, but when it does come, it's going to change everything. and everybody will be able to get off the grid, and whoever comes up with that technology that works is going to be a trillionaire. It's going to be a thing of beauty. I mean, it chokes me up.
What is it going to take for Solar3D to become the biggest company in the solar area?
I'm not sure that's really our objective. What our
How
objective?
about in California? There's 40 million people here.
This is our objective. Our objective is to be the most profitable company. We think scale is important. We provide a value alternative to customers that makes real good sense to them. Some people say, yeah, but you're not doing things that'll give you money for the future like some of the other companies do. Well, we think the real solution is to provide what's best for the customer at a fair profit. And in the end, that'll make us profitable, and people will know that they ought to come to us. Last year, about 20% of our business came from referrals. This year, about 40%. This is talking specifically about residential. 100% of our business in commercial and industrial comes from referrals. This year, 40% of our business will come from referrals. Next year, maybe 60%. That's because people are getting the message that we're providing the best value in this market for our customers. If people understand that, they'll keep coming to us, and we will become the biggest. But not everybody's going to understand that. So we anticipate being the most profitable business in this in this business.
Jim, I'm getting a sensibility that you may be at a point in time in the industry that there's mom and pop companies around, and that it's a consolidation phase, and that you could be in the right place at the right time. Would you comment on that?
Sure. I was in private equity for 25 years before I joined Solar3D. I had a couple of investor friends of mine who said, why don't you move to Santa Barbara and run Solar3D? It sounded pretty good, so I did. I anticipated working less hard than I am. I'm working way harder than I anticipated, but I'm really enjoying it, and I have a passion for it. And one of the reasons why this is working is because I've done consolidations before in my private equity life. And here we are in a business that is custom made for consolidation. Somebody was going to do it. We just happened to be the first one in to look at a concerted consolidation phase with not necessarily mom and pops, but something like that, companies in the $20 to $50 million range. And when we go out and do that, we think that's going to be really helpful in building both our management team and our business to a critical mass very quickly, and allow us to expand rapidly across the country.
And it seems within California, for instance, it would be regional acquisitions, right? Because you don't have to buy two companies in LA.
Right. Well, actually, LA is one of those where buying two companies makes sense. But you're right. I mean, really, we want coverage, because once we gain a particular foothold in an area, it's up to organic growth, because we have a model. We have a model that works, and that'll work for people that come to us for business.
And let's talk about competition.
Sure.
What are you facing?
Well, there are lots of it. There's lots of competition. There are 600 installers in the state of California, for example. Up until last year, there were about 1,000 installers. But as you say, it's going to consolidate. People are going to either fall out because they can't compete, or they're going to consolidate. They're going to join Solar3D, for example. Of course, we face SolarCity and Vivint, who are both giant and offer their financing programs, but we think that's an inferior model. They've done a great service, though, for the solar business by making it accessible to a lot of different users. They're significant competitors. I'm not saying they aren't. They're particularly good at selling people the first time in, but if people check for a backup bid, or they want to go out and check the pricing and so forth, we'll usually win in those types of situations. People that we consider really strong competition are people like us. We're very competent solar people who understand the technology and who are out there doing a great job of satisfying the customer needs, and there are a number of those out there.
So, Jim, as a follow-up question to competition, how sensitive is price, and how sensitive is price when it comes to your margins?
Sure. Well, price is sensitive in a couple of ways. One is in direct competition, and two, and maybe even more important, is that price relative to utility costs is an issue. When we talk about competition, their prices are masked often because they offer a lease payment. Their approach to sales is to say, here's your electrical bill, here's your lease payment, and you should take the lease payment. That covers some of the sins of padding the price and of course having the financing charges in the financing. We believe that a better approach is to go and show the customer exactly what he's paying for, to customize the site for him, as opposed to doing cookie cutter installations, and still making a fair margin for us. And obviously we're not in the business of creating volume. We're in the business of creating value and profit, to value to the customer and profit to us. So we think it works great for both us and the customer.
If you would, please give us your website for more information.
Sure. It's www.solar3d.com, and from that website you can also access both of our all of our subsidiary websites as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Nelson, Solar3D Incorporated. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is SLTD. I'm Shelley Kraft. We are live on SNNLive, and we're broadcasting from our studios in Los Angeles, California. Jim, thanks for coming on to SNNLive.
Good being here, Shelley. Thanks a million.
Thanks for coming.